Hi guys, thank you so much for joining me today on today's kitchen chat. I really wanted to shed some light on a very important topic, and it may or may not be embraced in your family or your culture, and society definitely has its own ideas about whether it's embraced or not, depending on so many different factors. And it's so important to any sort of struggle you're going through, and it's closely connected with my journey going through emotional eating. And so today we're going to be specifically talking about feelings. Feelings are an interesting thing. I think as generations have come along, we've been more open and accepting to being more vulnerable, to expressing feelings in different ways. And I think that how we grew up and the culture that we grew up in definitely has an impact on how open we feel, on our ideas of feeling vulnerable, on our ideas of being open and honest. And it really dictates at times how we deal with certain things. I personally grew up in a Hispanic household and a Hispanic culture, and it's a beautiful culture in that strength and bravery is encouraged and celebrated. And at the same time, I think that sometimes it creates difficulty in being open and showing feelings, specifically the negative feelings. This idea that, you know what, like, I'm not doing okay. I'm not happy in my situation right now. I feel sad about what just happened. And crying. I mean, again, it may not just pertain to culture. It's a household thing, it's a family thing, it's a gender thing. I mean, how many times do you see, on TV shows or on soap operas, guys who cry and who show their vulnerable side? That might not be celebrated. That might not be something that's encouraged, because they have to be this macho, tough man. I mean, that's kind of this definition that we've created, and we've made these gender roles. I mean, I have to say, as time has gone on, as generations have continued to go on, feelings have been embraced a little bit more. I really do feel that, and that we're accepting more vulnerability, and we're trying to open up our minds to that. But we also can't ignore the underlying messages that we're getting from past generations, from these gender roles, from these societal norms that are in our day-to-day. I mean, it's all around us. So what I'm trying to get at is, at times I felt like it was difficult and maybe not acceptable to fully feel. And that's coming from, again, so many different factors. Society, culture, family. And I think the problem that poses is we're keeping everything inside. And we have to release it somehow, right? Because at some point, I mean, it just gets so bottled up that it has to come out somehow. Whether it's through explosive anger, whether it's through violence, whether it's through emotional eating, whether it's through alcohol use, substance use. We find our way to cope. We find our way to express ourselves, and many of times it may not be healthy. Many of times it may be very negative. And thinking about feelings and what I've been told about feelings, and I mean, it takes me back to times in my life where my feelings were dismissed or weren't taken seriously, or where I had family members or friends or people that I knew send the message of, no, you shouldn't feel that way. Or, okay, you need to stop crying, you need to get over it. I mean, how many times I'm so sure that so many times you've probably heard in your lifetime, get over it. Stop feeling that way. Stop crying. Be strong. So many of these messages that we're getting, and it's causing us to shut down. It's causing us to hide and bury our feelings. But the reality is we can't get rid of feelings. We're human beings. We have feelings. They exist. And they have an impact. And if we're not able to embrace that, we're not able to be open and honest about that, if we're not able to express it in a positive way, we're doing the exact opposite. For a long time, I felt like it was safe. I felt like I was protecting myself by not being vulnerable. And I know so many of you guys can relate to this right now. So many of us, we've gotten this message that feelings and being vulnerable is a weakness. I've felt like that. I mean, I've gotten better at trying to be vulnerable, and I mean, even just doing this, even sharing these things with people who either I don't know or I do know, which is sometimes even harder, and putting myself out there, this is difficult. This is really hard. But I think it shows that how far that I personally come to be able to be this vulnerable and to put myself out there, because I've been told so many times through so many different ways that vulnerability is a weakness and feelings should be buried. And being open and being honest only has consequences. And that's so not true. And I want to shed light on this because this is just so important, obviously, to this particular topic that I've been talking about, emotional eating and weight loss issues, but so many other issues as well. And that's the core. I fed my soul with food because I felt that that was the way to solve the problem. Food made me feel good. So I was going to stuff my feelings with food. I was going to put all of my negative feelings into that donut, and I just wanted to eat it all away. I wanted to distract. I mean, that's something that I've read up on, and I've heard from so many other people who have this issue. Emotional eating and binging is a way to distract, is a way to, I don't want to feel what I'm feeling right now. It's too scary, it's too overwhelming, I shouldn't be feeling this way. You know, my mom told me that I need to get over it. My father told me stop crying about it. My friends are telling me to get over it. So I just need to distract and I need to just be somewhere else. And if you've ever had a binge, I described it to my boyfriend one time because obviously I've talked to him a lot about my emotional eating, and you know, he's been there with me through the whole situation, and I remember describing to him what it was like to be in a binge, and it's numbing. You literally don't feel a thing. You just are on autopilot. You feel nothing. You're just in space almost, and you're just feeding yourself, and you're removed. It's literally an outer body experience, like you're just not in your body anymore. And you don't have to feel what you're feeling. You don't have to feel the anger. You don't have to feel the sadness. You don't have to feel the hurt. You don't have to feel any negative emotion. But the reality is that it only lasts so long, that numbingness. You come back to reality and you're still in the same position you were in before that binge, and now you're focused on this binge that you just had, and you're so upset with yourself that you did it. And fast forward, 3 weeks from there, you're on the scale, you've gained weight, and now it's a weight issue. Now it's a self-control issue. You didn't have enough self-control to not binge that day. You didn't have enough self-control to not have 2 bags of chips in 10 minutes or in that sitting. And now it becomes an issue that is not even the issue. The core issue is, what are you running from? What are you hiding from? What are you burying? What are you not letting out? What are you not able to express? What are the core issues? Connecting to your feelings, being vulnerable, expressing yourself, that's the goal. We all want to be loved. We all want to be accepted. And I think I realized that being true to myself and being able to express myself and being able to be honest with how I'm feeling is not as scary as I thought it was going to be. It's actually the quite opposite. It's so freeing. Sometimes I used to think that feeling and being open and honest about what was truly going on in my mind was going to push people away and that people weren't going to like me. I mean, my earliest childhood memories were very much like that. I mean, the environment shapes us. And I mean, I remember growing up, and I mean, as young, I'm thinking of just like middle school and learning that if you were too honest and it wasn't going with what the crowd thought, people didn't like you. Being too opinionated wasn't always a good thing. And I think that kind of taught me to just be quiet. I mean, if I had any idea that was against the crowd, I just kept my mouth shut. Because I wanted to be accepted. I wanted to feel a part of something. I wanted to have friends. And I think that's what's happening so much with young kids now. Not that I'm not young, because I'm young. But it hasn't changed. That has not changed. And even as adults, we want to feel accepted and we want to feel a part of something. I think we need to be a little more honest about ourselves and about our feelings and be more vulnerable. And at the same time, we have to be really accepting and embrace that. Eating was a way to not only stuff my feelings. I mean, that was just one side of it. The other side was it gave me control. I was able to rebel against those people who dismissed my feelings, who dismissed me, who didn't accept or who didn't embrace my vulnerability. I mean, I can remember so many different relationships that I was in that, I mean, if I cried, it was like I literally had cooties. Like I was plagued. I was considered crazy. I was that crazy girl. You know, the girl who has like feelings and she gets emotional and it's too much, it's too much. Why? Why is that too much? Why are feelings too much? They're who we are. Maybe if we embrace it a little bit more, people wouldn't feel the need to explode. there'd be more communication. There'd be more room to solve things, heal from things, and be happier. I mean, is that a possibility? And what I found through therapy, through talking about it with my boyfriend, through talking about it with coworkers, and me being able to express myself in a respectful way, because I'm not talking about just running off at the mouth and having no filter. I mean, there is a difference. But me being able to, when I felt disrespected, having a sit-down conversation with that person and say, you know, I was hurt by what you said. I didn't like the way you spoke to me. Being able to express myself lessened my binging. Because now I was actually dealing with the core issue. Now I was expressing myself in the appropriate way, with words, with feeling, instead of with food. Because you can't feed your soul with food. They're two separate things. Your emotional needs cannot be fulfilled and satisfied with food. So many of us have been told that being vulnerable gets you hurt, and maybe experience has confirmed that for you. But there are also so many other experiences that will teach you the exact opposite. And it's so much more freeing when you're able to connect to your emotions, when you're able to just feel. Sometimes we also have this idea that we can't allow ourselves to go there. It's too much. We just cannot allow ourselves to go there because it's so overwhelming. We'll get drowned. We're just gonna be flooded. If we actually opened up that gate of feelings that we have deep inside, it's just we just can't. Our threshold, it's very limited. And I encourage you to do it. I encourage you to let that gate open. And I encourage you to let yourself feel it. Whatever that emotion is, to just feel it. Don't leave yourself. Don't distract. Don't go to the cupboard to go get cookies. Be in the moment and allow yourself to feel it. Because what I've realized is the fear of feeling it is so much worse than the actual act of feeling it. Sometimes we think that it's going to be never ending. Like this, when you feel just horrible, right? Like someone broke up with you, you're brokenhearted. That's never going to go away. That it's just endless pain. And you just want it to stop. You want it to stop, and you're going to do anything you can to make it stop. The only way to truly have that stop is to feel, is to just feel it, to go through it, to go through the process. There's no way that you can solve a problem by going around it. You go through it, and as cliche as that is, it's so true. Because it does end. We go through feelings, like a million feelings a day, guarantee you, whether we express it or not. They all end at some point to begin another feeling. So that feeling, that negative emotion that you have is not going to last forever. But I think that only happens when you truly allow yourself to feel it. I remember being at work, and it was just one of those rough days. Like, everything and anything that can go wrong went wrong, and I just felt so overwhelmed and stressed and sad, and I felt like I could cry at any point in time. Like, at a drop of a hat, could just break down. And actually this happened again like a couple days ago at work, and normally I would keep it together. Like, you kind of have like that self-talk, you know, like that little voice inside your head that's just like, okay, Ariella, keep it together, hold it in, don't break down, you're gonna be fine, everything's gonna be okay, be strong, keep it together. And sometimes, like, that, having that voice inside just makes me want to break down even more sometimes. And I just went in my office and I broke down. And I just cried and I just let it out. And I wasn't analyzing it. I wasn't trying to figure out where it was coming from. I just, in my mind, I was just like, I just need to let this go. I just, like, physically you feel it. You just feel so, I mean, for me anyways, I feel so tight and just like I can't even breathe. And I just felt so much better. I felt so much better to just let it out and just cry, and physically felt like there was just a weight lifted. And then I kind of just like bounced back very quickly, and I was like, all right, I let that out. I feel good, or I feel better. And now I'm gonna go about my day. Sometimes we just need to feel. Sometimes we just need to go through it. And you actually end up feeling so much better afterwards. So what I'm really hoping to get across today, like I've said countless times throughout this video, but I'm going to say it again, that feelings are vital. What I really hope is that you can open up your mind to this and do a little self-reflection and where you're at with this particular topic and where you're at with your own feelings. Are you the type to keep everything inside, bottled up until you explode? Are you the type that's been told, don't shed a tear? That shows weakness. Are you the type to dismiss your own feelings as well as other people's feelings? Are you the type that are scared that letting go and being able to feel is going to be too much for you? Or are you the type that really does embrace it? And that should be celebrated. We need to be able to learn for ourselves and even teach our kids that feelings are not just okay, they are essential to the human condition. I mean, if you have not seen the movie Inside Out, you need to, whether you're an adult or not, because it was the most amazing movie ever. And it just further solidifies what I've been talking about, that feelings are so important and they're so essential to our everyday lives and through the things that we go through, and it should be celebrated and it should be encouraged. And that movie was just so great. So if you have not seen it, you need to go see it. And I think that we're getting there. I think that, you know, little by little, we're kind of changing the way we're thinking about feelings and about expressing ourselves. You know, I was thinking, actually, as I'm talking, that there's this saying, and I'm sure you've heard of this expression as well, and I've heard it many of times, that children should be seen and not heard. And what I want to encourage today is the exact opposite. I'm sure you can think back to a time where you were not heard, but just seen. And I'm sure if you can think back to that time, you can remember what that was like and how that made you feel. And I'm sure it didn't make you feel good. Even as an adult. We want to be heard We want to feel understood. And I think that we can be a part of that solution. So I hope I was able to open up your mind to this important topic and that it sparks a discussion. Talk to someone you know, talk to someone you don't know about this. Celebrate and embrace being vulnerable and expressing feelings. And I hope that we can see this in a positive light and that it won't be looked at as a weakness, but actually a really big strength. So thank you so much for joining me guys today. I will see you guys next time on Kitchen Chat. Bye.